Boy, we're over here at Richards at Coach Racing Engines. Look at how warped this thing is. He just made one pass on the cutter. That head would beat up. What can you do? So surfacing that down. Maybe it won't take many more cuts. Look at how warped it was. You can see it made one pass and it caught it on the end on that side and on the end on this side. Well, I guess we need to be resurfacing these things on a regular basis. That first cut was 1,000 and that was 2. And you can see it's a lot better, but there's still some low spots. How much you gonna cut off of it this next time? 2 again?
Over 2.
We're gonna do 2 again. That ought to square it up and make it.
It'll cut more than that, but I don't want to cut more off the head than I have to.
Right, that's right. We want to keep the head as thick as possible, so you cut it as little as possible. So right now we're at 4,000. So it was 1. No, we're at 3. It was at 1, and now that was 2. So we're at 3. So this will be 5,000 when this one gets done. Throwing chips. Okay, so now we're at 5 thousandths off, and you can see the machine is moving a lot slower. So he's going to get a final cut at what, 1,000? Just taking
About
one.
a half, really. I'm just barely grazing at a slower pace.
So it's a 0.5 thousandths off. So we're going to be 5.5 thousandths off on this head, and it looks pretty good. So he just slowed the machine way down, and so that the cutter's got a little bit more time. And this surface here, even now, you can see it's pretty slick, and I mean, that's good. And there's, you know, different thought processes. I know a lot of people like it crystal smooth, but for me, I mean, I run a copper gasket. So in my experience, some texture on the head might not be a bad thing, you know, to help hold that gasket, to bite it. I know if you run a MLS gasket, they say you have to have a certain RA finish, but I mean, this right here, let's freaking jam up. This is gonna be perfect. Hey guys, what's up? Just got over here to the shop, just left Richards picking up the heads. Or the head, so everything is going back together. Going to hopefully get this head installed and put back on. Guys, okay, so I'm over here putting this thing back on, fixing to put this head gasket on. Got the head studs already installed. But a couple of the questions I had, I am reusing these head gaskets, and you can see it's pretty clear which side goes down. You can see the O-ring groove. It just imprints into the gasket, so that's always going to go down on the block. And I actually mark these, driver side and passenger side, so that you can make sure it goes back on the right one. And I think that's very important. Always check your O-ring wire just to make sure it's still good. Now I don't change the O-ring wire a ton. This is 0.41 thousandths. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, but the copper is the softest material there, so it's just going to implant into the gasket. So not a big deal at all. So one of the questions I had also was, do I use any type of sealant on the head gasket? I'm sorry, I don't have any water in the block. So you can see the freeze plugs are out. And so this is a solid head gasket. So there is no water going through the interface between the head gasket, the head, and the block. But what I do put a little bit of silicone on the corners of the block. This is the oil return. So that's going to simply pop on. So that goes there. And I don't know if that's necessary or not, but I always do it. So that covers the bottom part where the oil drains back from the head and goes that way. So now, since I do have water in the heads and the motor is not dry decked, I don't have the surface of the heads welded up or epoxied. So, you know, the water comes to the head gasket. At some point, I'm going to weld them all up or put some epoxy in it to stop it. And then it would be completely dry decked, like legit dry decked. But right now, that's just not the case. And I hadn't done it. Every time I try to, you know, when it's apart, I say I'm going to do it next time I have the heads off, but I never do it. But anyway, I hadn't done it this time either. So what I do, as you can see, this is where the water ports are. And so there's a couple spots. And so what I'll do is I'll put silicone on the bottom of the head. And then the silicone on the bottom of the head, it'll just seal, you know, when it goes to the gasket here. And then when I, you know, crank it up and I run water through the heads, I mean, so far I haven't had any seepage or any of that good stuff. So I don't know, it might seep this time, but we'll see. Okay, so let's do that. I'll put some silicone on the bottom of the heads and I'll show you. And then I'm going to torque these heads on and then I will be done with the heads. So you can see it really is just that simple for me. I mean, I just smear some silicone on the head and put it on. Okay, the head is on and torqued down. And you notice on this head I'm missing something. And I'm a freaking idiot. I should have made sure I got it, but I didn't. He had to put, this is one of the ones he had to put a new guide in. And I take the heads over there completely apart, and I just forgot to grab this piece here. He got all the machine work done, and he was working late getting my stuff, which I appreciate. And I was in a hurry to come down here, so I just simply, I didn't pay attention and left it sitting on the doggone shelf. But you notice we got the zip tie, the handy dandy little zip tie in the lock, so that's so that it just doesn't drop. And, you know, I was kind of freaking out at first, and I was like, oh no, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to drive back over there, you know, an hour away. But then he was like, man, he's like, just don't worry about it. I mean, just treat it like you're, you know, changing the springs on the car. And I was like, oh, great idea. Didn't think about it. And so that's what I did. So I brought this piston up. If you noticed in the earlier in the video, this piston was up at top dead center. And so that is hitting the piston right there. So it can't go any further down than that. And I put the zip tie on it just to help pull it up and just to, you know, it moves easy. But there's no way it can fall down in there. But just in case the motor, this thing on the other side has got a lot of spring pressure. And you see there's a couple of the springs. Well, there's a couple of them that are open. And sometimes that thing will kick back. And so it'll turn the motor back the opposite way. I had a hard time. I about turned the motor over on the engine stand when I was trying to turn it over to get this piston up the top dead center. It actually did turn over. It rolled over on the engine stand. And now I've got a handy dandy valve. I put one of the exhaust valves in as my stand holder. But just in case it bumps back, that's the reason I put the zip tie on it. That'll just make it so it can't go down. So I've already mic'd it out. Know what shim I need on it. Since that is the intake, just like the other head. Just had to take some. This one was exactly the same. The exhaust was good. The intake, I had to take some shim out to get the installed height correct. So, all right, well, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. I was hoping to get the intake and stuff on it, and I could get the intake on it, but it's just easier for me to line these push rods up with the intake off. So I'm going to not put the intake on it tonight. So it'll be ready to rock and roll here soon. The heads look good. Heads are torqued down. The one side is done completely. This side will be done. I'm going to come over here tomorrow night and hopefully get that valve spring on, get the intake on it, get the headers on it, get the valve covers on it. And depending on how it's going and how we feel, maybe drop it down in the car tomorrow night. Randy's coming over here tomorrow night to finish working on his. So hopefully it'll be good. We won't have any big issues and everything will be fine and everything will go smooth and his will get done and mine will get done and we'll be racing this weekend. All right, guys, if y'all will like, comment, and subscribe if you've not already done so, go fast and get some win likes. We'll see you next time. Thanks.